Big follow-up on yesterday's big news. Reuters says that Intel has begun shortlisting a handful of CEO candidates, including former board member Lip-Bu Tan, who left in August 2024 after clashing with the outgoing CEO Pat Gelsinger. Quote, Tan, who was once seen as a contender for the CEO role, has in recent days been approached by Intel's board to gauge his interest in taking up the job, the sources said, requesting anonymity as the discussions are confidential. Tan is an industry veteran and served on Intel's board of directors for roughly 2 years as part of a plan to restore the company's place as a leading chipmaker. He joined the board in September 2022 and received expanded responsibilities a year later to oversee manufacturing operations. But Tan departed in August after clashing with Gelsinger on several aspects of Intel's turnaround plan, including the size of the company's workforce, its contract manufacturing strategy, and its work culture, Reuters has reported. Tan has previously served as CEO of Cadence Design Systems, where he spent more than a decade and helped turn around the then ailing design software maker's fortunes, end quote. Tan is not the only candidate, though they are apparently the frontrunner at the beginning of the search. To follow up on what happened, it looks like what we might have suspected happened. Bloomberg's reporting says that Intel's board gave CEO Pat Gelsinger the option to retire or be removed after the board lost confidence in his plans to turn the company around. Quote, the clash came to a head last week when Gelsinger met with the board about the company's progress on winning back market share and narrowing the gap with NVIDIA, according to people familiar with the matter. At last week's meeting, he faced concerns focused on the lack of products capable of winning in the market, something the board felt had been neglected in the push toward turning Intel into a made-to-order chip manufacturer. He was asked to stay on to help with his replacement, but showed little interest in that, the people said. That prompted the decision to end his tenure over the weekend, they said. Whoever replaces Gelsinger will face the same set of problems he was brought in to fix, including the fallout from the poor decisions made by his predecessors. What would have once been the most desirable job in the $500 billion chip industry has become a nearly untenable position. The next CEO has to take on competitors with greater resources and catch up in AI computing, all while showing that Intel can be the groundbreaking company it once was. Finding someone to take that hot seat may not be easy. Before Gelsinger was appointed to replace CEO Bob Swan, there was speculation that a number of prominent executives were possible candidates. Many on Wall Street proposed approaching Advanced Micro Devices' Lisa Su for the job, end quote. Many are saying that Gelsinger's retirement opens the door for Intel to consider fresh deal options, including splitting up the factory and product design divisions and selling the Altera unit. Quoting Bloomberg again, the board has discussed a range of possibilities in recent months, such as private equity transactions and even a split of Intel's factory and product design businesses. But Gelsinger was opposed to breaking up the company, focusing instead on his plan to restore Intel's technological edge and become a made-to-order manufacturer for outside clients. It's also an opportunity for suitors to take another look at acquiring some or all of the business. Qualcomm expressed some interest in a transaction before, though nothing got very far, Bloomberg News has reported. This leadership change increases the probability of divestitures, Bloomberg intelligence analysts Kunjan Sobhani and Oscar Hernandez Tejada said in a note Monday. Gelsinger was firmly against breaking up the company, but the prolonged and expensive turnaround has tested shareholder patience, potentially forcing Intel to reconsider, end quote. If the new CEO goes ahead with a bigger shakeup, here is a list of deal ideas that Intel could revisit. Number 1, splitting factory and product divisions. This would involve fully separating Intel's factory business from the more profitable unit that develops products. Under Gelsinger, the company has been expanding its manufacturing operations to become a foundry, a maker of components for outside customers. The idea is to eventually compete with Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, a pioneer of the foundry approach. Number 2, lure a suitor like Qualcomm. Bloomberg had reported that Qualcomm considered an Intel acquisition, but its interest had cooled as of last week. The complexities associated with acquiring all of Intel made a deal less attractive, people familiar with the matter said at the time. But Qualcomm could consider buying pieces of Intel, such as the product business. Like much of the chip industry, Qualcomm doesn't manufacture its own semiconductors. Instead, it designs chips and relies on partners like TSMC to handle production. That's why it's unlikely to want Intel's factory operations. Number 3, selling Altera. Intel's Altera unit, acquired in 2015 for about $17 billion, makes chips that can be reprogrammed for different uses after they're manufactured. Intel has held negotiations about selling a portion of the business to financial investors, a potential step toward an initial public offering for the unit. Buyout firms such as Francisco Partners, Bain Capital, and Silver Lake Management have been studying offers to invest in Altera. Last month, though, Bloomberg reported that Lattice Semiconductor was considering making an offer for all of Altera. Lattice is working with advisors and is seeking a private equity backer as it explores a potential bid, people familiar with the process said. Number 4. An Apollo investment. Apollo offered to make a multi-billion-dollar investment in Intel earlier this year. The New York-based firm indicated that it would be willing to make an equity-like investment of as much as $5 billion, Bloomberg reported in September. But negotiations didn't lead to an announcement. Number 5, a Mobileye transaction. Intel acquired Mobileye, a maker of self-driving technology, in 2017. Though the business went public in 2022, Intel still owns most of the company. That situation has the potential to change under a new CEO. In September, Intel said it isn't currently planning to divest its majority stake in Mobileye, but Bloomberg reported earlier in the month that the chipmaker was contemplating options for its 88% holding, end quote.